the stage, and then we can get with the ball rolling. Please come. I would like to just, take a few seconds to introduce all of them so that, Mr. Raghu Panicker. He is the CEO of Kaynes Technology. They have plans and decided to set up OSAT facility in Gujarat with an investment of about 3,300 crore rupees. They are pan-India based companies primarily focusing on EMS and other allied ecosystem, including PCB manufacturing. We have Mr. Amrinder and Sidhu from Micron Technology. I guess everybody knows Micron, and Micron is synonymous to Gujarat, so welcome. Thank you. Mr. Ganguly, Dr. Ganguly, he is a professor of IIT Powai and a well-known academician from the technology sector. And we have Ms. Minal Buch. She is a chartered accountant by profession and founder of Bizbrains Advisors. She is connected and doing a lot of research on government policies and government systems that are enabling the Indian ecosystem in manufacturing. So one is the infrastructure, basically physical and financial infrastructure. The second is the demand for any industry to thrive and grow. And third is the skilled human resources. Without skilled human resources, no matter how good the company can be, but it will never, ever grow and succeed. As this topic of this session suggests, we'll talk mainly on skill development and for semiconductor and I would probably call as a fab design, but also probably in general in electronics industry as well. Gujarat is now, that the de facto choice for global and domestic companies in the semiconductor industry, and we have a group right in us. With whopping thousands of crores of investment coming in the semiconductor area in the state, brings tremendous opportunities and challenges both. All major industries out of Gujarat, for example, engineering, pharmaceutical, ceramics, diamonds, are the key driver for growth and success, where only because of the skilled human resources that they develop over a period of time. And I think it is going to be equally challenging and important for us to dwell into the skill development for the workforce, not only from the manufacturing, but also the design, financials, and everything in this so-called the new emerging sector of semiconductor. We have obviously very knowledgeable speakers, and I think I'm going to make it rather more interactive and intuitive in terms of, based on their background and experience. I'll probably ask some questions and then we'll take it from there on. I also encourage all of you to interrupt us for any questions or any comments that you may have, and we'll be happy to answer them. Mr. Sidhu also.
Hello. If the ice is not broken, let me break it a little bit more. We already knew that, how do you get immersed within a place that you go. IIT Bombay first became IIT Mumbai. Now it has become IIT Powai. Yes. The next step would be what? IIT, what is the road?
RA Road.
No, it was a pun unintended. So, yeah, the question is that, what are the challenges that we are facing?
And your expectations.
Yeah, I mean, when Professor Udayan Ganguly is here and stalwart sitting in front of me, Mr. Hitesh and Suvibai and also Dr. Veerapan. If you see the industry, the government guys are here. I'm just drawing parallel of what happened in our lifetime, 30 years before. 30 years before, there was no design ecosystem in India. There were few designers of the LSI, either in a company called Semiconductor Complex Limited in Chandigarh, few people in ISRO, few people in DRDO. Those were the only few people available, and some research institute. I think 25, 30 years back, the industry, the academia and the government came together, put together various programs And right now, when we sit and talk about India being a VLSI design powerhouse, with the in forefront of yield to chip and Pesol and the next, it just not came by chance. There were few people who worked towards it. There was an industry body that got created called India Semiconductor Association and then India Electronic Semiconductor Association. Various programs were put across. The famous ones are the Special Manpower Development Program, which I guess was in the fourth or fifth order, which has a unique combination of, adding research institutes and top-tier institutes, the IITs, the NITs, and stuff like that. Now that program is in the fourth or fifth order where, close to 125 universities are part of it. Part of the program, they get funding from Ministry of IT for the EDA tools, infrastructure, courses program, so that students in the 6th, 7th, and 8th semester learn languages like VHDL or do hands-on projects and stuff like that. So that one such program is MIT, industry, the EDA guys, the semiconductor team, and the academic put together. There are various such programs. Campus Connect, if Dr. Pradeep is not here. Yes. So if you look at, you can Google on LinkedIn and see that Campus Connect is a very big program with IESAs, which means that, we have not stopped. Even though we are 20-30% of our design workforce in India, with stronger base in technology, we're still continuing to make sure that the students don't go back to the information technology era and stuff like that, right? They continue to study core electronics. So there are various such programs which industry, academia and government come together. So what I would think is that for the semiconductor manufacturing, we are in a similar state. I don't think I have ever built a node factory in my life. So everybody is in the same boat. So we are all learning. And the learning would come about where we draw parallels of what we have done in our life. So a similar kind of an exercise is already started. IIT Mumbai under its various programs, and there are 3 meetings in IIT Mumbai, just not Dr. Ganguly. There is Videsh Deshpande, there is Ganguly and Udayan. And they are the 3 forces within IIT Mumbai who are running programs like Panicker, who are running programs like capacity building. They do programs to teach students, give them hands-on labs to see how the package is designed, developed, and manufactured. So they are doing this effort. There are various such efforts. Under the leadership of, the Gujarat Technology University and various other universities, we're working. How could a center of excellence be put? How could the training be done? So, there are various such programs, and I'm not talking the entire time. The whole thing is that there are challenges, but these are opportunities to see how we could take the manufacturing to the next level. I'm sure it will not take 30 years like we took in the VLSI design. All the learnings we have taken, I'm sure it will take a less number of years, 5 years, to create that capacity and build a workforce that is required for us and Tata and a few more, which is coming.
Yeah, I think that's very important and very well said, Raghu. Just one question that I would like to add what you have said about it is that from as an industry expectations point of view, I'm sure Dr. Ganguly will well into academics and education more about the future of student and training. But as an industry, what are your expectations? And if I may ask, from the Gujarat point of view, because you are setting, we all are learning, so your inputs will be very important.
So, instead of saying expectation, I can see that there are a lot of collaborations that are running. Sudhir Bhai, from the e-info-chip standpoint, various universities which are collaborating. Some of us have come here. Micron is putting huge infrastructure inside a college in Gujarat. Is that EDU? So, there is infrastructure they're putting. We are planning to put some of capexes within the university so that students could be trained theoretical plus do an hands-on experience before they come to the industry. So, I wouldn't say that, the state is not up to the mark and stuff like that. We are all collaborating and things like that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sidhu, if you also would like to share your experience so far, and I think more importantly, I'm not sure whether it would be appropriate for this audience and for all of us, but for most of us, as Raghu said, it's a new emerging area for us, and not many of us are aware of it, what's going on inside a semiconductor fab or manufacturing company, and what kind of a skill that you would like to have besides the fair education background, and where do we go from here?
So absolutely, Micron is the first mover in this space, and there are knowns and unknowns. They always say that it takes a village to raise a child. Similarly, to bring up the entire semiconductor industry or a semiconductor manufacturing plant, it's a collective initiative from everyone. Everyone has to play a key role in enabling this. And I think universities are very, very crucial from skill and talent development standpoint, capacity building. I'll share an example that I see in the company. So we had the first batch of interns some time ago hired, and this batch was sent to Malaysia for training. And these students, I can tell you, they have so much potential and so much hunger to do so much. And they were coming out or talking about solutions, and some of those solutions are also being considered now within our team. So in terms of talent, if they are nurtured in a right way, there is a lot of talent here. In this space, aside from this, what Micron is doing, as Panicker ji had just mentioned about the collaboration we have had with BDEU, is on the Center of Excellence. We are looking to, overall, we are looking to train close to 2,000 to 2,500 employees over the period of 5 years. Out of this, the collaboration that we have had with BDEU, where we have donated some tools, setting up some infrastructure for training, we are looking to send about 1,000 hired employees to BDEU for 5 years for training, and it would be your operators, technicians.
Very interesting. I know semiconductor means electronics, but if you really go a little bit down to the process, it's more of a chemicals, applied science, applied engineering, and what kind of skills that are required to be developed from the employee's point of view, right from the operators level all the way up to scientists or research in your organization. Can you also a little bit elaborate on those things?
So definitely, I mean, a lot of skill set around chemicals, know-how, and also on the construction side is required. And what is right now happening is a lot of this know-how is traveling from overseas, coming here, sharing that knowledge. Over time, what we would like to see, and what we are also looking to explore within our ecosystem with our vendors and suppliers, if they can operations here, that would be the best. And I also see if they don't house that operations here, over time, competitively, they will lose out because that skill set is slowly going to develop here over time.
Wonderful. I probably, before I hand over to Dr. Ganguly and Ms. Buch, maybe let me ask one question for both of you, and then we can probably switch over to academics more. If let's say one or 2 points that you would like to suggest or to have it in your wish list from the skill development point of view, from your company perspective, Gujarat perspective, and the future employees perspective, what would you probably attribute to? And this goes to both of you.
So along with skill set, I would also include infrastructure. The reason being, infrastructure is so important. If you look at the entire semiconductor tools, they have so many sensors, they are so complicated. Even a very small example. If these tools are getting transported from one city to other city, and if they are on a very bumpy road, the functionality of the tool gets compromised. So you really need well-calculated roads, and there is a great initiative from the government, from the state, to help build up that infrastructure. Maybe over time we might even see a dedicated semiconductor corridor. Um, uh, so all that discussion going on. And then on the skill set side, I think from government coming in as a partner with universities and institutions will play a very big role in bringing up the skill and talent for the semiconductor industry.
Thanks.
Raghu, over to you. So, yeah, pretty much what you said, sir. I'll add a little bit more on top of it. Maybe a little bit of an investment that can come. Because, high-end equipment, high-end tools, where the government can look similar to what the Ministry of Electronics and IT is NDP program, where they procure certain set of tools and give it to colleges. Maybe some investment that can come in from the state government and from the central government, so that this could, proliferate to multiple such universities. From their CSR budgets or whatever budgets need to be done. So certain investments can come in that way.
I think that's a very important point. Thank you. All right. So I guess please hold on to your questions if there is any so far. Let me switch over to Dr. Ganguly. And it seems that a lot of responsibility and onus on the institutions, especially IITs, for the semiconductor. And there is a lot going on, it seems. And I think it would be nice that, what IITs are doing, what engineers need to upgrade themselves, what skills that, we can match, and what are your expectations from industry as well, besides funding?
Thank you. No, another thing. So I have a couple of questions for people. So how many of you think that you are business people? Raise your hands. Okay, some. How many of you think you are engineers? Okay, some. How many of you think you are good communication people? Some. How many of you think you are problem solvers? I would say a lot more. Right? So, what do you want institutes to teach? It's a philosophical question. Sometimes good questions are philosophical questions. Next point, right? Where do you think semiconductors have grown? Bay Area, Silicon Valley, right? What universities have led to that? The Berkeley stand for space. Look at IPIC, KU Leuven. Look at Taiwan, Gesia, right? I think we may be doing different things, but all of us have come from the universities, right? And there, the fundamental thing we have learned is problem solving. Elements of that are in sophisticated tools, building roads, anticipating problems, right? You have solved problems before they happen. A good engineer, typically you can't see because the problem's already solved. Sometimes that makes them not earn money. No, that's a bad thing. So you got to still sell the problem before it happens. I think, a lot has been spoken. I think Raghu, Amrinder, I think there have been great comments. I think there are a lot of people in the room who have expectations, right? From universities, and IIT Bombay is one of them. We think of also this as an opportunity. We have always created problem solvers. My background is in material science. I teach in electrical engineering. I have to do business because if you have to sustain a lab, which is roughly many crores, right? You have to make sure that you have a cash flow. And none of these were specifically taught to me in academia. But holistically, we have to learn these things as we go along, right? So the challenges, right? What are the challenges? The challenges to me is that we were always promoting top-end people, like, we have IITs really train, we get great people, we train them, but I think the scale is not. I don't think we can supply in good faith to the kind of skill level on the average. So we have to change the way we do business. One of them is, of course, infrastructure. Can we train enough people at a certain rate? The second is something that is, and I think, Raghu talked about it. So one of the things that Kaynes did with us was to run a packaging course. And then, they took our equipment, and this was the early bare bones equipment that we would cobble together, and put out a package. So students actually went through the process. The second is, we realized that, education must be democratized. Meaning, why should a person who gets an IIT Bombay accreditation be the only person to access, the kind of abilities that we have, right? So we also did an online course. And the partner there was Synopsys. So every time we do something, we have a partner with industry. I think when we did one of the courses, in fact this course, I talked to Hitesh and I asked him, Hitesh, if we do this and do a good evaluation of the candidates, would you guys use that evaluation for internships and hiring? Because ultimately, you have to sort of define the supply chain, right? From the person to engineer, to business, to finance, to this person actually earning a great living and a career, right? So the online platform is extremely underdeveloped. And what is underdeveloped in that is the ability to do experiments. Like none of us have learned a lot in classes per se. We only learned when, we had fire on our behind and we had to deliver on our deadline, right? And that's when all your theory comes to, the rubber meets the road, right? So what we tried to do was to partner with Synopsys and have labs, like half-an-hour lectures, 1 hour labs, to test out what they learned on a simulation. So, and then we had to sort of ask the question that if you were to be given an unoptimized system, do you know enough? You don't have to know everything, but do you know enough to make it work? Right? The engineering approach. I think it worked. Right? First cut, and our goal was not to make it perfect. Our goal was to see whether it worked and how much of it worked, right? So, lab-based education, online education with virtual labs, and the third is industry engagement, right? Because ultimately they need to pull. So, CEMIX, by the way, is the Center for Semiconductor Technologies at IIT Bombay. IIT Gandhinagar has such wonderful things as well. Many IITs are trying to learn. We are all learners. We try to come on together. The government is putting things in, but I think what I'm here for is the discussion. I think we want to hear what is not happening and what can we do, which are the first prioritized steps. I think that's what the additional secretary talked about. That how do you prioritize what to do? And I think I'll pause here.
Okay. Yeah, no, thank you. I think it's a very interesting ideas and thoughts that you shared with us. It really makes sense, and we are evolving, and IITs and education is important. But I'm from Gujarat, and business runs in our blood. Typically. So I just wanted to ask you a simple thing. I know, you are also now doing some business from your lab, so I think probably you can correlate. Some of us probably might be interested to know whether it would be possible back in the days, when the IT boom was there, we were having so many institutions and classes and coaching things for .NET and other languages, and people were getting trained. Do you see that kind of a possibility that IITs or we can bring a package of this is the course curriculum for 6 months or 9 months for the skill development for the engineers who don't have any exposure in semiconductor, and then we can probably bring them to some level and then they are ready for industry. Do you see that kind of a possibility?
Yes, I think the answer is yes. I think the question, however, is how effectively, right? And I think that's where the feedback and the refinement needs to happen. So, because things have to be done with your hands, everything cannot be written down, and there's a cost to failure. If a code doesn't run, you're okay, code craps out, everybody sort of says, okay, fine, redo this part. When equipment comes down, there is health hazard, there is, financial problems, I mean, it cascades up. So, in my mind, it is not the same one. And the other thing that we do not worry about too much is the learning sciences. So, most people sort of know how to teach because teaching is also a fundamental thing, right? I mean, we teach our children, right? We learn from others. So we all think we know how to learn. But nobody formally looks at it. So there is something called learning sciences where you actually figure out the psychology of how humans learn and how humans learn. And I think those are things that will be ultimately game changers for us, in addition to the technical piece. So I think those are the things that we have to ask questions about and solve in the next, say, 3-4 years.
Okay, I think it's interesting. Just one thing that I would like to add in what you said, Dr. Ganguly, and I think it is to meet the supply-demand gap. It seems that the Tatas and Microns and Kaynes and many others are coming on board, and they will need, if not hundreds but thousands of engineers to be absorbed. And like you said, IITs cannot alone meet those expectations because we also have a phenomena called brain drain. Some of us probably travel to abroad and all these things. Do you see a way that you could collaborate with the help of government and the industry to bring tier 2 and tier 3 universities and colleges within Gujarat and then bring them on board? Because I personally noticed, and I know we hire a lot of tier 2 students for our company, and many of them are excellent. They are really, really intelligent people. So maybe that can also justify and kind of improve a skill and create an infrastructure of skills.
So okay. So let me sort of put it this way. So the story goes, right, when we so Semix is about pilots. So we said, why can't we do a lab course for 5 days? The one person who showed up was a Gujarat government IS officer, Mr. Nagarajan. He took the course. And then he came back and said, why don't you do this same thing for Gujarat Technical Education Board? And we then had 60 Gujarat teachers who showed up. Yeah. So, and this was, sorry, I think we can mess up the name. But in my mind, that is the path. And there needs to be somebody who takes the initiative and puts together that team. So I think the team is very important. And the exact strategy will evolve. But I think we look to form the team here. That's what the answer is.
Okay, so I think it's a collaborative effort. Then all stakeholders have to basically pitch in and then make it success. Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Ganguly. I think now I will probably have a wonderful time with Ms. Buch. Ms. Buch comes from a very interesting financial background, and her opinion, her vision, her ideas with regards to skill development from a very unique perspective, I think it's going to be very interesting. So,
yeah. So I'll add my own part to your question. So when you mentioned about the skill development, I would also look at how even the government can play a role. So here we are wanting to discuss about the problems in research, and if I look at the statistics, India is poised to become by 2030, I think 10% of the total semiconductor consumption across the world would be there in India. right? So we are sitting at that place right now, and now we have so big giants, Kaynes, Sidhu, Tata Motors and all coming in. If you look at their supply chain, it's mainly import driven, the technology driven, capex driven. So if you look at the numbers like 10,000 crores, 1,300 crores is the investments which we are talking about. And in my understanding and whatever little research I've done, it's all on the import centric side. So from my experience and background, I'll come to a question later, but the thing is right now, there are a lot of schemes already being talked about. One is the PLI, DLI and all those schemes. But apart from there are very major schemes on the import side, on the export side, which are equally important. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So, like if you talk about a size of investment of 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 crores, and the custom duty standards is like around 30%, right? So, we are here taking, so I think there's one mover scheme and then many other schemes which have been in place. But one thing which the government can focus on, and if I relate to the point raised by Mr. Stephen Hackley, they have GCCs and other capability centers in their own country. Now, if we relate that to the collaboration part, if from an India standpoint, we have like comprehensive economic trade agreements or a partnership agreements to have to collaborate such technology and innovation in India, that would be a great thing. Right now, where we stand from an India-centric point of view, like there are only 20 plus trade agreements which India has, and there are almost 195 countries across the world. If we look at a global perspective, we can do a lot of efforts behind that, because we've already talked about infrastructure, capital investments coming in from the government side, and Indian government doing a lot of efforts in making policies, skill development and all. But this chunk, if we fix it well, what it will turn out is the skill development will happen, because right now we are in-house not capable of so much of technology in-house, we import a lot of technologies. So collaboration with different nations who are ahead of us, like Taiwan, I think is the foremost, then Japan and Korea. So that will bridge the gap of skill development. So those kind of partnerships with the nations will really help us. And the other thing is, there are also a lot of investments which I talked about. Now if I go to the export side and the import side, the entire supply chain, the value addition part is the most critical. And in that, if you also try and integrate the MSME segment, so I had a visual we are recently working for one of the semicon companies, and that visually described that if a silicon wafer comes into India and it is the entire processing is done, the chip facilities, manufacturing is done in the premises, then what will happen? So as you mentioned about the infrastructure, the bumpy roads and all, I would like to add that one point there. Imagine the clearance happening, the custom clearance happening, and the officer wants that, okay, I want to open this packet. The hazards would be higher. So we have to look from a policy, from a very comprehensive perspective, that we add the global perspective to our trade agreements, the policies. So that will help the in-house manufacturing capacity to scale up, and also the skill part, which we are constantly talking about since morning, would be addressed with a lot of expats coming up, training here. So I think IIT, it's not only the job of the IITs to look at the skill development, but if we also partner with such institutions from across the world, and if they come and train here, and this could be part of a formal trade agreement, that will really give a big boost to the ecosystem which we are trying to create.
I think it's very, very important aspects of overall skill development. And one thing that I understood, I never really realized it, that a customs officer opening up the wafer box in a hazardous area, open area, can really change the entire game. So even the skill development at the customs officer is also important. I mean, that's very interesting, and I think there is a lot that we need to do overall. Important. Another thing that you have done a lot of research on semiconductor, and you have been working with various stakeholders, including government. With regards to skill development, if you were to identify opportunities in skill development, again, I'm from a business background, so
Right.
I'm just trying to basically find a way to make money out of it. What did you do?
So very, very good question. Actually, see, when we meet clients and when we meet many new companies, everybody talks about there is a gap. So I think there are two things which were very, very important. One is the right psyche and the right attitude of the person who is wanting to come to perform a task. It could be an employee, it could be a contractor. So from the from the soft skill side, if we ingrain that in the colleges along with the technical, because see, I'm not a technical person, I'm not from an engineering background. But from other than engineering or a technical background, what are the skills which are required for a person to get absorbed into any task? I'll not term it as an employer intern. I'll term it as a task to be addressed. So it could be any contractor, consultant, or it could be any person who is willing to perform a job. So attitude is the most important aspect, which if that is right, I think training can be done very well. And if you talk from a revenue perspective, I think there are already a lot of programs which government is funding, where an industry can themselves have an in-house training center. They can employ people, they can train, and there is certain amount of stipend and certain amount of salary given to the company, and that also turns out to be a business model. So from a semiconductor, I'll address few other aspects. Apart from the technical thing, the financial part, the working capital part, because this ecosystem is entirely different. It can't be dealt with in the manner it has been dealt with other industries. So the entire, the government side, even the private organizations or the MSMEs who would be serving to the big giants also needs to come up, level up and do their math before approaching or doing their job of work.
Okay, I think that makes sense. There is a very interesting, important inputs. I believe we are pretty much on time, and there is still some few minutes left for question answers. And if you would like to ask any of us any questions.
Hi, very interesting learnings in this session. Thank you all the panelists. So I'm a serial entrepreneur, very much based in Ahmedabad. I've been tracking the semiconductor developments here. Also very closely connected with the education and early stage, startup economy here. I know you guys are doing enough in terms of going to the university, setting up the courses, trying to make sure that the skills and the talent that you need, in the next 2 or 3 years coming out of the university is already happening. I've also understood that, as you guys set up shop here, a lot of your ecosystem players, be it from Taiwan, Singapore, the US, have already committed to come here with you. So you're also bringing your ecosystem here. My question specifically for Raghu and Amrinder is there will be a certain set of skills, there is a certain set of services that it will be imperative for you to source locally. And and at that scale, they probably don't have the wherewithal or the vision or the size to kind of execute with a university or an education institute. Specifically want to learn from both of you in terms of what are the absolute imperative services and skills that you will need from probably the smaller sector or the small size, the SME segment, that will have to feed into what your larger initiatives are.
I start with Raghu.
Yeah, okay. That's a good question. Now, even though Micron is leading the way to set a captive plant here and then bring in their ecosystem partners, I think very soon, if you have not even thought to localize certain of those raw materials and supplies, because at least being in the services domain, would surely have to catch up the EBITDA and the gross margin, right? One thing is good to take a subsidy from the government, which is only available for 5 years, because on the 6th year, we have to be on our own. There are various ways to do it. You look at technology which are less complex and move quickly to a higher complex where the margins are much better. Certain localization of the raw materials to be done here. Very simple things like solder balls and stuff like that could be localized easily. Gases and chemicals could be localized. We have talked about getting some expats side so they can teach us build a grounds up, plant. But quickly we'll have to look at our local resources, because that's where the cost stuff comes in. Train them up and bring them up to speed and stuff like that. So most of these measures needs to be done. Otherwise, companies like Kaynes will not be able to operate. And we are known to keep the cost down. That's why you look at the PE ratio that we are doing. So I'm sure Micron has a similar challenge that we have.
The thing with semiconductor is that the quality and precision for any service or product needs to be, very, very high. The requirements are just very, very stringent from qualification perspective. So just to give you an example, like our clothes for clean room, for washing they go to Bangalore. So our gloves that, which are worn for engineers and operators to work in the clean room, they come from Malaysia. So a lot of opportunity here to localize all these things. And it's good for, like you all who are looking to find opportunities to get in touch, with our different verticals. Like procurement is kind of within Micron is leading the initiative to localize more and more. So happy to put you in touch with them and see if there are any opportunities to explore.
I think we have one question that we can raise in the time. So maybe
a couple of points I would like to say, right? He said that when we study in the university or the college, we learn to solve the problem. We do not really learn to solve the problem. When we come to the life, right? Because the curriculum of the course, the way it is currently structured, except the new education policy, we learn this skill and get the job somehow. That's what we. When we come to the industry, then we learn how to solve the problem. That's the background. So maybe you coming from the background of business, so we know it. And the second point that we are always having the service mindset. We do not really want to develop the product, right? So a lot of investments are happening to really do the R&D to develop the product. That's why the reason what happens in the academia. The second aspect, you do not produce the thinkers, right? Do not produce the thinkers. And I've been interacting with as a helping community, large number of including the IIT, I do a lot of help them. 20,000 students I've been interacting in the last 2 to 3 years. Lot of knowledge sharing has done. But that's what is the basic, right? As you mentioned very nicely point, right? The person, we see the industry and academia collaboration gap. How much genuinely person from industry come and really share the knowledge, the content of the knowledge is here to other side to transfer. It's not there. There are a lot of initiatives that are, but until I feel that I come there and say that what knowledge will benefit the other side, that has to come. Thank you.
I think it was more of your expression. No particular question. There is a gentleman on the back, so maybe the last question and then before we wrap it up. Yeah, maybe if you can speak louder, I can have microphone passed.
Thank you, panelists, for a wonderful discussion. I'm Gawak Sursi, Assistant Professor Nantech. My question is to Raghu and Amrinder. Yeah, when you look at the new hires, what kind of skill set that you want to look developed into your new hires? Like you want all different kind of skill set, like they should know health and safety, chemical fundamentals, computational, and or you want them to be expert in one particular area. And my another question is, when you see a complete training institute or complete training organization coming in, setting up in India, as compared to like DSMC and other Taiwanese countries? Thank you.
Maybe you can start with So I'll try to answer it short. Someone who's passionate and hungry, and the selection criteria for students, it's very rigorous within Micron. A lot of aspects come into play. Our new factory will also have automation, so those skill sets will be required. We are putting up assembly and test plant, so students who have some experience in that space are definitely preferred. FAB requirements would be different for datas and all, and then companies that are more into R&D, they might require a different skill set.
Yeah. So, from our side, we don't look at anything in a sense that we don't want them because they have not learned it. I'm only looking at an attitude of a person who comes in and he commits to work with me for 5 years. Because I have a challenge, right? I am at Sanand. I am at a stone's throw away distance to Micron. That's why I cannot pay to what Micron would pay. So if he comes in, he has to come in for 5 years and then give a value to me, then he can go. So that's my only requirement.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Yeah. On a one closing note, because Gesia is known for representing a lot of things, one thing I would genuinely request is a lean corridor custom clearance for the semiconductor companies, because that is the most important aspect, and I think if that doesn't happen, a lot of things which we talked about would be at a toss.
Just like a Paresh.
Yeah, because that's like you cannot imagine, like even I think speck of a dust can't touch the wafers. So that has to be seamless, and we have ICD Sanand, we have ICD Sabarmati, Ahmedabad Airport very close by. We have to make extra efforts to make it seamless.
We'll make them a clean room.
Yeah, I think educate them. So education and training for the customs is going to be extremely important.
Well noted.
Second part of the question is remaining.
I am continuously being told by Gesia that we have to basically, unfortunately, end. I really appreciate and thank for so much of interest, and kudos to wonderful panelists. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone.